When a commenter named Tentacle Dinner for Two requested a video on oozes, I genuinely didn't know how to respond. There are as few oozes in print as there are celestials, and celestials at least have an interesting premise to build from. Oozes are all variations on the same four traits: pseudopod attacks, acid damage, amorphousness, and or weapon or armor degradation. No one will confuse a Holyphant for a Pegasus, but even I can barely remember the differences between a black pudding, a gray ooze, and an ochre jelly. I shelved the idea for months, but kept it in the back of my mind just in case. Then, out of the blue, a few months ago, a monster showcase from Dungeon Dad completely changed how I see these monsters. Welcome to Critically Misused, a show where we look at misunderstood or underappreciated aspects of D&D. On this episode, we'll be discussing oozes, which have untapped potential neither the fan base nor the game designers have realized. Designing oozes beyond those provided by the monster manual is always a challenge. Their forms are amorphous, so they'll always look like a giant glob of jam or jello. They're slow and, for the most part, dumb, so their diets, homes, and behaviors end up being identical. They don't have a backstory or relationship with each other like giants, dragons, celestials, fiends, or fae, and no lore since their 5e release has distinguished them from the blob monsters they resemble. They technically have a creator, Jublex or Ganadar depending on the edition, but both of them are such non-characters that their subjects define them, not the other way around. The most celebrated 5th edition oozes take their lore from better monsters, meaning their oozeness is never their most interesting trait. 5e oozes may be shallow, but a monster of legend from past editions can still give oozes an identity. The Epic Level Handbook was a 3rd edition supplement that brought D&D games past 20th level, with a superpowered bestiary to match. Its monsters don't just deal more damage, they feel stronger thanks to the lore provided. It introduced atropals, zigzagles, elder elementals, and demi-liches, but its greatest achievement was creating awe-inspiring monsters for every creature type. The handbook created beasts and plants that were as destructive as elementals by scaling up more than their armor class and hit points. For an epic level ooze, the writers imagined a mimic the size of a mountain, the Genius Lokai. Genius Lokai literally translates to local spirit. Today, it refers to the atmosphere of a place, but to the ancient Greeks, it was that place's sentient soul. They believed every forest, river, and mountain had a personality, one that could be swayed with prayers and offerings. D&D's version adapts both into a single monster, an ooze as large as a landscape with a mortal servant bound to it. Its surface is covered in unassuming trees, rocks, and ruins, so travelers can cross it without realizing it was there. But when a lumberjack strikes wood or a quarrier cracks stone, they expose rubbery, amoebic flesh. The landscape doesn't just sit on top of the ooze. The landscape is the ooze. Every tree, stone, and hill is an additional limb. To embody the idea of an appeasable spirit, the Genius Lokai keeps a mortal servant to be its voice. The monster can attempt to connect to any creature within its domain, binding it to the land if it succeeds. That creature becomes the ooze's mouthpiece, bargaining with the locals and scaring away thieves. The poor soul is now the land's immortal guardian, bound to work for the ooze until it finds a replacement. Interestingly, the Genius Lokai itself is only as intelligent as its victim, making it more of a mantle than a monster. It drips with flavor and intrigue, so it's such a shame that the monster has never been reprinted since its release. Thanks to clever storytelling, the Genius Lokai feels like an ooze, despite not having any stereotypical ooze abilities. It's a reminder that monster type should come from design, not the other way around. Oozes are the least varied creatures by far, but other types stick to unnecessary traditions too. Elementals don't need to be composed of alchemical elements, celestials don't need to be glowing white beings of holy purity, and giants don't need to be taken from Norse mythology. There are so many possibilities for monsters that these supposed standards won't let you explore. Imagine a storm cloud ooze that rains acidic droplets from above. The droplets would be oozes too, and they would burrow into your skin like rock grubs without the same immediate attention. The Metal Master from 2nd edition is another great ooze to bring back. It has the power to yank and shove nearby metal objects, stealing weapons or disrupting attacks. Hell, mimics are oozes too. They're giant amoebas with elastic bodies and pseudopod attacks, all the stereotypical ooze features. If D&D's most iconic original monster is ooze-like, then you can certainly make oozes interesting too. I went into this video wanting to make more interesting oozes, but that's a terrible approach. If you start creating a monster based on the type you want it to be, you'll be trapped by that type's established patterns. Creature type is just another part of the stat block, as core to the monster as its proficiencies or resistances. If your only idea for a creature was that it had fire resistance, your final design would be hollow. Come up with the monster first, then you can assign an appropriate type. Oozes and amorphous creatures have so much untapped potential, so long as you have a plan. Thank you for making it to the end of this video. If you've made it this far, consider dropping a like and subscribing, as well as suggesting topics you'd like to see me cover in the comments below. It's been a while since I made an old-fashioned monster analysis video. I hope I didn't keep y'all waiting too long. We've hit 1,000 subscribers already, which is so mind-boggling it doesn't feel real. From the bottom of my heart, I love y'all's support, so I wish you safe travels, until we meet again.